Regarding these items of business that stem from an open meeting under Rhode Island General Law 4246-4 and discussion and action, personnel job performance contract renewal, Director of Facilities and Transportation, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A1. Discussion and action on a personal job performance, now renewal NEASK, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A1. A discussion and action on personal job performance, Director of Student Services. Do we have a motion? This one?
Yeah.
Also, there is a discussion and action on a personal job performance contract renewal systems administrator, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A1. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recess into executive session. Second.
Readers. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. New committee is requesting that we have 10 more minutes to finish our business in the executive session. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:18. Mr. James Restiva. Here. Ms. Calvetta. Ms. Kate Massey.
Here.
Ms. Michelle Russo.
Here.
Myself, Paula Whitford here. Please join us in a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Do you have a motion to seal the minutes in executive session?
I'll make a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. There was no votes taken in the executive session.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion to move from school committee business item D to the front of the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, that motion passes. 22. Music up to A. Okay.
Oh, she wants D to go here.
Before the, oh, okay. Guess we'll have them. Manette. Manette.
Hello, everybody. I am seeking approval for the music department to go on a spring trip, 3 nights, 4 days to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you guys need this. And I'm also looking for approval to fundraise for this trip. The itinerary, obviously, you guys all have. We've done something like this before. 2 years ago, we went to Philadelphia. This year was a small trip. We just went to New York City for the day, really successful. This trip specifically has competition involved in it. We go to a festival where we listen to other groups perform. It's really great for our kids to hear other performing ensembles from other states. There's a big award ceremony, which South Kingstown does really well at generally. So I think all in all, it's great for our program.
I'd like to make a motion to approve. I want to make sure I say it right. To approve the field trip South Kingstown High School music to the parks in April of 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Thank you for all you do, Ms. Ben.
Thank you very much.
I do think we want to say thank you. And such an exciting opportunity for our students. I think this is really going to build the music program. I remember doing this kind of thing when I was in 9th grade and getting feedback at a juror competition.
Yeah.
It really helps you refine the program and makes you stronger. So I'm super excited for you guys.
Yeah, Fritz and I have been building this more and more every year. We do a little bit more travel than the year before, so it's good. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your time.
Next up is community comments. Miss Madeline Mahoney, would you like to come up to the podium, please? We'd love to hear from you.
We're gonna move this out of the way. We'll stand right here, okay? Hi, everyone. My name's Brian Mahoney. Nice to meet you all. So I often say to my lovely three children, if they've ever like to come to Daddy to come to work with me, they can come. And I said that tonight, and Maddie said she'd like to come tonight to come to school committee because she thinks it's really cool that I get to get on TV sometimes. Also, too, I'm very proud of her. She did say she'd like to come up and just say a few words, which almost brought Daddy to tears, but that's okay. Happy tears. And I'm just really proud that she wanted to say hello to you all and say a little something. So here you go.
Hi, my name is Maddie and I go to West Kingston School. Thank you for everything you do to serve the community.
Good job. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you. Great job. Mr. Beasley, come on up.
That's a tough act to follow, Mr. Beasley.
See, what people don't understand is school is up, but you guys, it's not out for you. 12 months a year. You're worth every penny, okay? So will this be Mr. Littlefield and Ms. Myers' last meeting? Official meeting? Personally, I would like to thank you for your incredible work that you've done over the last year to guide this school district through a very difficult time. We had that meeting in the beginning and we didn't see eye to eye and everything, but I think as the months went on, I became to appreciate more and more what the two of you've done. And I really thank you for everything you did. Okay, so just want to talk about for a couple of minutes about the Khan Academy and the Khan Migo. I've talked about this before. The generative AI software. And so what I believe I sent you some information. The state of New Hampshire has a contract with Khan Academy to bring the Khan Migo software, generative AI software, to every 6th through 12th grader starting September. The cost to do that was $2.3 million for New Hampshire's students. They have a few more students in Rhode Island. So if Rhode Island was to do something like that, it'd be around $2 million. The thing that to me that makes this so important is that the technology, there's no getting around the fact that this technology not only is coming, it's here. And the sooner that the state of Rhode Island wraps their arms around it, the better it is for our students. Salman Khan, who developed Khan Academy, wrote a book, came out this year, a couple months ago, called Brave New Words, How AI Will Revolutionize Education and Why That's a Good Thing. This is the first copy. I've given it to Brian, the president, co-president of the Teachers Union. I have some other copies coming that you'll see the next time you meet. I'll bring them with me. I know Mr. Snow said something about there's an issue with there's a privacy issue with the software and what it requires of students. I think every student has to have an email address that's linked to the software. But it doesn't have to be their personal email address. The email addresses can be created by the school district. So I don't know what the state of Rhode Island, I know the state of Rhode Island just had an hour meeting online last week that Mr. Snow told me about. So they have somebody, they have a consultant who's supposedly going to get information out to the school districts about what can be done. So there are other artificial intelligence software. There are other types, other kinds, other versions that are used. I know there's one being used in Texas, in school districts down there. But when an entire state hitches their wagon, it's got to have something. There's got to be something to it. So anyway, when you next see me, you're going to get a copy, and then I hope you read them. Okay.
Ms. Whitford, I'm not addressing Mr. Beasley but I would love to formally request to have AI as a topic on a future agenda coming soon. I have extremely passionate views on the topic. And I would love to have a robust conversation about it at our table. So if we could we typically don't have agenda like that on but I just would love to make sure that that gets on our next agenda so we can start that conversation. Thank you.
At this time, we'll close community comments unless there's somebody up there. Yeah, okay, we'll close community comment. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Next on the agenda is our superintendent's report. I'll pass that over to Mr. Littlefield.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the committee. You'll see in your first of all, you'll see in your personal action form that we've shared with you, there are 3 resignations, including that of our Director of Student Services, Christina Lyman. Ms. Lyman has accepted the position of Assistant Director of Student Services in the East Providence School Department, and her last day with us will be Friday, July 5. We certainly wish her well in her new position. I share this because I want the committee to know, and anyone in the audience or following us at home, that we have reviewed the job description for Director of Student Services. We will have the job posted on multiple search engines tomorrow. Ms. Meyer and I are working on recognizing that it may take us a couple of weeks to get someone on board, that we are working right now on getting us some temporary services in order that we can get our extended school year program, our summer school for special education students up and running. We will keep you informed of any developments there. We recently completed our job assignment process for both our certified and our non-certified staff in the last 2 weeks. I want to point out really the remarkable work of our Human Resources Coordinator, Charlene Briggs, and what I consider to be extraordinary cooperation shown by both the NEA SK Teachers Association and the NEA SP Support Personnel Association throughout this job assignment process. Was it complicated? Yes. Was it done smoothly and fairly? Absolutely. And it was really I feel fortunate to have watched it happen. And I understand why the process is in place. It was a true team effort. All remaining positions after that job fair have been posted on School Spring, and some interviews have already taken place. Speaking of interviews, we assembled a team of administrators and teachers and parents for the position of Assistant Superintendent of Schools. And that came at the request of our incoming superintendent, Mr. Pedraza. We received 11 applications for the position of Assistant Superintendent. Ms. Meyer led the interview process. We interviewed 6 candidates. A list of finalists has been identified and left for Mr. Pedraza to consider when he takes over on Monday, July 1st. And we hope to have our new assistant superintendent in place and secured by the middle of July. Our school year has ended last Thursday. We closed out in fine fashion. I had the pleasure of attending 5th grade promotion ceremonies at Matunic and at Peacedale, while Ms. Meyer represented the district at West Kingston's ceremony. I also attended, along with Chairperson Whitford, the 8th grade ceremony at Broad Rock Middle School last week. And I need not remind anyone on the committee how impressive the South Kingstown High School graduation ceremony was at the Ryan Center on June 14th. I would be remiss as interim superintendent if I did not acknowledge Mr. Terry Lynch and his assistant, Miss Laura McCallig, for their hard work in putting on that graduation. It was an extremely well-organized event. I can also tell you that our Summer Learning Academy is ready at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high school. And as I said, our extended school year for special education students, they're all set to begin on July 8th. And then this is a final note. This will be, as Mr. Beasley alluded to, it'll be my last school committee in an official capacity. And I want you to know what an honor it has been for me to work with all of you for the good of our students. I feel so fortunate to have been given a full access backstage pass to all of our classrooms in all of our schools over the course of this past year to witness the instruction and the learning that takes place in SK schools. And I leave this position with great hope for the future after having gotten to see behind the scenes and to see how dedicated our people are. I want to single out my executive assistant, Terry Marchesalt, in particular for all the help that she's given me. If I am to receive any credit for any work that I've done this year, certainly she deserves much of it. I want to thank my partner, Ms. Meyer, for all that she has done in her own right and creating such a, I think we were a formidable team working together. And we were able to just work with so many committed professionals, giving their all for the good of our schools. It's really been an honor for me. I thank each one of you from the bottom of my heart for what you do for our schools. I don't need to tell you that being on a school committee is a thankless job, but I'm going to leave you with this. Please know that this citizen of South Kingstown sees what you do and really appreciates what you do. And I thank you and I wish you all the very best moving forward. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Littlefield and Ms. Meyer.
Ms. Marcia Saul. We're just thanking you. Make a motion to accept the superintendent's final report.
Second,
So. Quick question. Thank you. First of all, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. But I do have a real question. At the end of this year, we were going to turn Wakefield over to the town. I just am curious where we are with that.
We are, we're still in discussion. We've not been asked, to expedite the situation quite yet. We still have a great deal of material that's in Wakefield School. I think Mr. Mahoney can speak to the contract that we're entering into for us to unload and perhaps put up for sale furniture and equipment that's not only in Wakefield School, but is also in Curtis Corner School. I do know that there are discussions at the town level about how best to utilize the Wakefield School property as well as the South Road School property that's already been transferred over to the town. But I don't have anything specific to share with you tonight.
Thank you. I was just curious. We kind of had a original timeline for the end of this year and then I know. And then it was pushed to them. Now it says end of year. This is an end of year question. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yep. Favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is school committee business. And the first item is a discussion and action on personal job performance. It's a contract renewal for Director of Facilities and Transportation. Does that go to him or do we just make?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the contract renewal for the facilities director with the revision of the automatic renewal change to 1 year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and action on a personal job performance and a contract renewal for systems administrator. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the contract renewal for the systems administrator with the revision of the automatic renewal change to 1 year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and action on a personal job performance, non-renewal NEASK. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the settlement of the non-renewal appeal of EN as recommended by the superintendent.
Do you have a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm sorry, so we have Mr. Receiver.
Nay.
Ms. Vedder,
Aye.
Ms. Matt's Nancy,
Aye.
Ms. Boyd,
You want
I mean,
Bishop?
Ms. Russo, I'm sorry.
Aye.
And myself, that motion passes 5-1.
1.
4-1, I'm sorry. Ooh, there's 5 of us. 4-1, I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and action. The fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget, and I would call Mr. Patrick up. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So what you have before you this evening is the third revision to the fiscal 2025 budget based on changes that have accumulated since the last time the committee voted back on March 12th of this year. So if we could get that slideshow up. Excellent, thank you. Move right to our agenda. As always, please feel free to stop me and ask questions as needed. So we're just going to give you the bottom line right up front. I'll let you see the last adopted budget compared to this revision. I'll have a slide on staffing so you can see where we landed there. And then I'll go through the various changes through the funds, the general fund, capital fund, and all our other funds. And then we'll wrap it up with a summary of a comparison between fiscal 24 and this revision. So moving to slide 3, looking at the adopted from March 12th to this revision here. You'll see in that gray column on the right there, 2024-25 revised. That is the new revised bottom line at $68,211,756, which represents an increase of $1,394,977 over the last adopted budget on March 12th. Everything highlighted in yellow was changed. There's a lot of moving parts here. I'm going to go through all the detail essentially, but just wanted you to see where all the changes that drove across the different fund types, the changes that drove the bottom line. So an increase over the last adopted budget of $1.39 million, but not an increase from fiscal 24 to 25, just to be clear. Okay, proceeding to slide 4, looking at staffing now. So these are the totals by position type after the job assignment process, after our retirements and our resignations. So this is net of all the FTE changes for the year. So we're looking at a reduction of 17 FTEs, which is about 4% across the district. And our first go around with this budget, we expected to reduce about 18.9. So we ended up retaining another 1.9 FTEs. So again, this is a total reduction of 17 FTEs district-wide. This is across all funding types. Again, it's about 4% less than the current fiscal year, fiscal 24. And you'll see the primary reductions were instructional staff and instructional support. Any questions on this slide? Very good. Moving to slide 5, we'll look at our general fund first on the revenue side. So based on the state aid that was enacted on June 17th, we received an additional $178,456. And that came in the 2 categories there that you see where the changes are. That was formula aid for an increase of $129,603 and an increase in our high cost special education categorical aid, $48,853. So again, a total general fund bottom line increase over the last adopted budget of $178,456, which is 100% tied to state aid increases. Questions there? Very good. We'll look a little bit more specifically on slide 6 now at state aid that was enacted. So now I just broke it out by the different categories. And again, this is just comparing the current fiscal year 2024 to the enacted aid for fiscal 25. So in total, we'll be receiving $6,008,520 in state aid, which represents an $85,515 increase over fiscal year 2024. So we received a reduction of about 52,000 in formula aid, but we received increases in all the other categorical aid categories. And just a quick note, mechanically now, we'll receive our multilingual learner categorical aid through the formula aid. So that will come through monthly. Currently, what we do is we get that reimbursed at the end of the year. So it used to be its own separate categorical aid that we had to submit for reimbursement. Now it's just included in the formula aid. So we'll get that monthly. And RIDE is supposed to be revising our uniform chart of accounts so that we can track these MLL expenses more closely. This was a question that came up in budget subcommittee. So they do want to know how we're spending these funds. And once they issue those new UCOAs and we implement them into our accounting system, we'll be able to produce any reports that are required for this categorical aid. And then just that little snapshot at the bottom there, you can see that's the state published document on the RIDE website. Questions on state aid? Very good. Moving to slide 7, now looking at the general fund on the expenditure side. So I'll just go through each object category for you here essentially. So looking at the 51,000 series, that's our salaries. This represents an increase of 797,000 over the previously adopted budget, and that's due to the final FTE count. We absorbed 6 FTEs from ESSER into the general fund. And again, an additional 1.9 FTEs over what we expected to cut. Looking at the 52,000 series, that's our benefits series. So we budgeted for 8% health insurance premium increase and a 2% dental increase. Those final increases from the trust, health insurance was only 4.86% and dental was only 0.86%. So roughly half of what we budgeted there. So that's why we got that $219,000 decrease. Looking at the 53,000 series, this is just net of some puts and takes, some additional contracts that I missed on the first sweep, and then just some savings and some other services that we didn't think we needed based on current spending, our current spending profile. So that's a net reduction of 23,511. And then jumping to 55,000 series, these are other purchase services. So this is where you'll find transportation and tuition. So essentially the $365,000 reduction there is driven by a reduction of 1 large minibus and 1 minivan, which is tied to the consolidation of the routes that we negotiated with Ocean State Transit. And also it's the anticipated reduction of 1 special education student for whom we will not have to pay tuition or transportation in fiscal 25. That's our expectation. So that again was a net reduction of 365,000 there. And then lastly, just a very minuscule $10,000 reduction in the 56,000 series. And it's just based on some cuts to custodial supplies and some other miscellaneous supplies that are based on fiscal 24 spending trends, essentially. Any questions here? Excellent. Okay, moving now to slide 8, looking at our capital fund. On the revenue side, some good news. So we added a trust claim reimbursement essentially for a generator that failed at Peacedale Elementary. So the trust is going to cover almost all of the expense for that. So essentially we'll replace the generator and then we'll submit for reimbursement and they'll give us $81,623 towards the total estimated cost of $83,400. So in order to balance this out, I had to increase our proposed fund balance usage by $1,777. So the total bottom line increase to the revenue side is $83,400, and that's tied strictly to that Peacedale generator replacement project. Okay, looking at slide 9, the expenditure side. On the left, we have our adopted projects, and then on the right, we have our revised projects. So a couple items of note here. Essentially, I added the Peacedale generator project again at $83,400. I moved the door access system project at $20,680 into this year. And then we also removed, if you look at the table on the left, the HVAC controls, we ended up moving that into ESSER. So we'll pay for that at ESSER. So that came out of the capital fund expenditures. And then if you look down at the bottom there, based on the reduction of the $75,000 for the HVAC controls, we added a vehicle replacement program for the maintenance department. It's a pretty minuscule budget for a vehicle, but we'll see what we can do. Any questions on capital expenditures?
I have a question, but I have a comment about the vehicle replacement. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. We've been talking about this for a long time and I can't wait. I want a private parade with this vehicle with the horn tooting, please. Thank you.
See what we can do. See what we can do. Hopefully when we get it runs. No, it will. And looking at slide 10 now, it's just a summary of the capital fund expenditures by object code. Primary change there is just the reduction of 75,000 tied to the HVAC controls project. And then looking at the 57,000 series, it's just the those two projects that I added, the vehicle and the door swipes. Okay, moving now to slide 11, looking at our federal and state grants on the revenue side. So you'll notice a pretty substantial increase over the adopted budget back in March. I'll just go through the changes here. So essentially, we increased our CRP, which is our Consolidated Resource Plan allocations, and our anticipated carry forward dollars totaling $255,783. We increased our anticipated ESSER 3 carry forward to $597,506. And essentially, all this means is that we just didn't get it all spent by June 30th of this year. It's just going to carry forward into fiscal 25, but it's all earmarked for projects that will be spent. And then we also decreased our Perkins, which is our career and technical education federal aid, by $18,821 because we received our final enacted allocation there. And then lastly, we added two additional state grants. One is the Learning Inside Out grant at $291,000, and the other is the Get the Foam Out grant at $7,654. So again, a total bottom line increase here of $1,133,122, with the majority of that coming from ESSER 3 carry forward.
So I got a question. So when I look at the 44,501, the Title IV allocation, so we adopted 60,499, and the change is 61,984. So it kind of looks like we didn't spend anything. But my concern is this because we didn't revise last year's budget, or?
Ms. Meyer is saying she can answer this question. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer that question for you, Ms. Vetter. The reason for this revision is we actually took some money out of Title II and transferred it to Title IV, obviously with the permission from the Rhode Island Department of Education. The purpose of which was to continue to fund the MTSS coordinator. So if you recall, in this fiscal year, we had a lot of dollars that hadn't been spent in the past that we had to plan for, which we did. We did not move forward with the hiring of the MTSS coordinator from the perspective of not understanding what our fiscal year 25 budget was going to allow us to do, and rather than make an obligation. But we are in a place now where we have rolled those funds over and we'll have them allocated for fiscal year 25 and be able to move forward with the coordinator.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great.
You're welcome.
thanks, Alexis. Any other questions about our federal revenue? Federal state revenue? Very good. We will move to slide 12, look at the expenditure side. So essentially, the primary changes there, looking at the 51,000 series, so an increase of $167,000 in salaries. That's tied primarily to our ESSER 3 summer pay at $145,000 and some additional salary expenses in our other CRP categories. Reduction in benefits, again, tied to our lower health and dental rates. So an slight increase to our professional technical services. So that's just accounting for carry forward again. A lot of these are tied to carry forward, essentially. And then pretty significant increase to property and capital expenditures. That's explicitly tied to ESSER 3 capital projects for next year. Stuff we just did not get done this year. Any questions here? Very good. Looking briefly at slide 13, our enterprise fund. So no changes here. This is our food service fund. Just one minor note. no material impact to anything. Essentially, it's just that the Rhode Island Department of Education has instituted some new UCOAs, some new accounting lines, so we have to implement that into our accounting system. So all of that took place within the 55,000 series. Just FYI information. And then if we look at the last slide now, slide 14, looking at the final summary. So now we're comparing fiscal year 2024 to fiscal 2025. And that represents a decrease of $127,646, which is significantly less than what we originally thought we would have to reduce the budget by, because we assumed we would have spent some more of the ESSER funds and some other federal funds. But we had significant carry forward, so that's why that amount shrunk, essentially. Still a reduction over fiscal 24, just a smaller reduction. Any questions or concerns? Two more things I'll say, if that's okay. Late breaking news, as part of the state enacted budget, they revised the employee retirement or the employer retirement contribution rates for ERSRI and for MERS, the two retirement systems run by the state, and they increased the rates. So I'm going to have to revise this again. Just wanted to let you know. And then lastly, I just wanted to address my bosses here, since this is their last meeting and since I have their microphone. And I just wanted to say to Bob and Alexis, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to work for you. The 7 months that I've been here, you've made it wicked fun. I could not have asked for a better management team coming in fresh, and I just appreciate both of you tremendously. I mean, if I had a Mount Rushmore, you know, for management in my career, my very short career, you're both on there for sure. So thank you so much for everything you've done for me personally and for the district. Don't, you know, call me if you want, text me. Don't go anywhere. You know, I'm sure I'm going to be bothering you. So again, just want to say thank you. I really appreciate you both for sure. Thanks for hiring them. Great decision. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any other questions or concerns.
Do you want us to vote to approve this revision?
I think that's appropriate.
I move to approve the revised vision, the revision 3 of the 24-25 proposed budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Kilpatrick.
Next item on the agenda is the proposed substitute rates for school year 24-25.
You have it there in front of you, Madam Chair. You can see our there's very little change in our substitute rates, but we do have to keep up with the market, and these folks are hard to find, and while we wish that we could pay them more, we feel that it is the responsible thing to do in order to ensure that we have a regular supply of substitutes in order for us to be able to keep our schools moving forward. So we ask that you approve these rates for the 24-25 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed substitute rates for the school year 24-25.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and action on a bid award 2455 electronic door swipes. Mr. Mahoney?
Hello, the bid award you have in front of you, 2455. is to add 6 door swipes for, I don't have my badge on me, but for our badge card access system throughout the district. The doors will be at 4 of our buildings, 2 at Broad Rock, 2 at Peacedale, 1 at Matunic, and 1 at West Kingston. We worked with the SKPD's special unit on threat assessment and safety to identify all of our buildings and where the best places would be to add more access to building in case of any form of emergency. We're currently a teacher, staff member, child would have to go a lot further to another access door because they don't have the grand master key that gets them in throughout all the exterior doors. Another note on this bid was compared to past pricing that we were paying for the store access system. The company Best Tech Services actually came in a lot lower relatively than we had paid in the past 20 years for these kind of door access. So that was nice to see. Does anybody have any questions about the door swipes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid award number 2455 for electronic door swipes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussing an action on assistant superintendent contract draft. Mr. Littlefield?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What you have in front of you is it's a proposed template for a contract for the assistant superintendent that I alluded to earlier this evening. Mr. Pedraza, in the name of expediency, would like to have a contract template so that after he interviews our finalists, when he comes in and begins, that we won't have to wait for another school committee meeting to get the contract approved. So he's rolling out this proposed template, which would set up the parameters for our new assistant superintendent.
The only question I have is, we're voting on the template, at a later, is it within our purview at a later date, approval of the actual, once the contract is actually filled in? I know it's the purview of the superintendent to choose the person. I'm assuming we would have to vote on the actual salary once that is added in. And we would just need to give a final stamp of approval for that. A procedural question. We can vote on this in general and he can go forth with it and obviously be comfortable offering it to whoever he selects. But at some point it would have to come back for us to approve the actual salary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Regards to this contract, is this contract going to be amended a little bit, like the prior contracts that we approved tonight, and having this contract not immediately roll over for 3 years, or is this okay?
Right, that's your purview, but I would recommend that that provision be revised to a 1-year renewal term.
I'll make a motion to approve the template for the assistant superintendent contract with the revision that the renewal will be limited to 1 year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion on school facilities. Ms. Kate?
I'm actually, I'm finger wagging over here to get Mr. Mahoney, my co-chair. I unfortunately was not able to attend our most recent school building committee meeting, and Mr. Mahoney ran it for me, so I'm gonna have to pick his brain for an update from that meeting.
Yep, so we continue to move forward with Left Field, Studio J Slam. They both had presentations for us at the meeting, or presented some information. And Gil Bain as our construction manager. The next meeting we have, we're actually switching for the summer to morning meetings to kind of maximize everybody's time. So just publicly, we start this Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Everybody should come. And that's going forward through the summer. We'll be having them on Thursday mornings. We're going to go bi-weekly and then as needed for contracts, for anything that comes up, we'll be adding meetings. We also discussed a little further, but we have not set a date yet for community engagement. We do want to have this summer at least one community engagement session to go over the architectural designs and some of the details that are going to go into the next stage of the building, which will be being processed over the next few months. We also discussed green energy, which is part of what the first initiative we're looking into with trying to get ahead in the process of speccing out the building. And we have had discussions about looking toward geothermal heat with having a large efficiency with geothermal. It is a little more upfront work, but there is a lot of benefits from the federal government also potentially that could come back to support installing a system like that and higher efficiency for heating and cooling. And then our next meeting, we have the agenda up, and our main discussion topic is going to be our contract moving forward with Left Field. We just have to have a discussion of either approving or going to a different direction with our OPM. It's kind of their next stage of their contract. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Mahoney, could you tell us about the field trip that the high school team went on just recently?
Yes, so they went to Billerica High School and Durfee High School. They were able to kind of see everything. They saw classrooms, they saw some of the modern CTE with these huge, beautiful buildings that have been built in the last few years. Durfee High School specifically has a whole historical wing when you enter the building with old timbers from mill buildings from Fall River. So they've really built history as one of the big core parts of their building. And then as you go through, it turns into a modern space for learning, kind of, again, what we're trying to give with this bond to the students. Another large component was they saw the theater department was able to go, a few of the members, so they were able to actually take some of the design elements from what they saw at Billerica and Durfee, and they actually generated their own sketches, Fritz Benz and Mr. Muir, and put the whole package together and gave that to Left Field, Slam, and Studio Jade as their internal recommendation, knowing what SK moving forward would like to see. And some of the elements they actually saw along the way, Studio Jade and Left Field agreed would probably help maximize our project and actually give the program an added benefit. So it would be a cost savings, essentially allow us to fit more seats in and give the theater production actually a more grand, true theater style auditorium. What else? We got this. Anything else?
You have any other questions? Thank you. But again, just to reiterate, this Thursday, 8:30 a.m. meetings will still be live streamed. And everybody's welcome to come. Again, they're in the town hall chambers like normal. And then going forward, once Mr. Pedraza is sitting at the table, we can have a discussion with him as far as any sort of changes that need to be made with the body of the school building committee, with the hopes to keep it intact. So I look forward to Thursday morning's meeting and just kind of a level of reassurance as part of the process. We've been very transparent about our process with our the folks that we are in contract with. So this with Left Field is really just a review of what they've done for us, go over strengths and opportunities for growth. and then move forward from there. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes at 8:13.